Hello and you welcome to yet another edition of Unfiltered Conversation on Tourism in Africa on Criminal TV. And like always, my name is Franca. All right, today I have as my guest Mr. Hassan Abdullahi ZAKARI. All right, and he's the country director of West Africa Tourism Organization, WATO, and then we'll be discussing facilitating investment in sustainable tourism development in Africa. You're welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So can you please just tell us one or two things about yourself?
Okay, like you rightly said, my name is Hassan Abdullahi ZAKARI. I'm a tour operator based in Lagos, Nigeria. I am an inbound operator to be specific, and I run Absolute Africa Tours and Metro DMC. Both are part of the Mice and Tours Africa group. I am the immediate past president of the Association of Tourism Practitioners of Nigeria, and currently the country director, Nigeria, West Africa Tourism Organization. I was also previously the West African Director for African Travel and Tourism Association based in the UK, the ATTA. So I have been in this tourism space for about 27 years and counting. So yeah, that's where we are. I'm very passionate about and developing sustainable tourism for Nigeria and Africa at large.
Quite an impressive resume. All right, now your workup you just described. What does it entail in all these positions to also far? What does it entail?
Well, basically trying to promote tourism to Africa and to Nigeria in particular for the Nigerian portfolios. We try to promote tourism. We try to promote ethical practices in tourism, as well as advocate for the recognition of tourism as a major economic driver for Nigerians in particular. We've been engaging government and advocating for tourism to be given its rightful place to contribute to the GDP and the growth of the country.
All right, most people, let me say the African continent, we are not so familiar with the aims, objectives of the tourism sector as it stands. You are an industry expert, all right? So according to you, what are the economic value of tourism to Africa?
They are enormous. First, it's a major driver of foreign exchange into a nation's economy. It also puts food on the table for the most vulnerable in the society. As you know, the tourism attractions are based in the rural areas, and so it creates employment for rural women and the poor, engages in the community, also aids, promotes security, because when they're gainfully employed, they stay off crime. Those are the major economic benefits of tourism, adding to the economic growth of any community that has that advantage of having a tourism asset.
So, right, sir. Now, let's take a look at tourism in Africa. All right, let's take case study in Nigeria. All right, now, how do you rate, the level, the awareness on tourism in Africa? And let's listen to the case study of Nigeria.
If you talk about Africa, about 20 to 30% of countries in Africa have tourism as their mainstay. So the awareness is very much on the African continent. Tourism is very, very high. But in terms, if you talk about Nigeria, the awareness is low. Low in terms of non-patronage from government, low in terms of even the citizen. They are not, the awareness is not as we want it to be. It's very, very low. We know that we just want to travel out, even for holidays, we prefer to go out there. The awareness about our tourist attractions within the country is very, very low. This is part of what I said earlier, that we're trying to promote that awareness via the various associations and in conjunction with some government agencies. So for Nigeria, it is, let's say, 50% awareness, yes.
So what would you want, or what would be your recommendation to the government and the stakeholders in the industry? All right. So for them to come on board and then do one or two things about it to make sure that we're having a better story to tell from Nigeria.
Come again?
Yeah. You just said that you're working with some stakeholders and then the government on
Yes.
how to draw the attention to the tourism sector in Nigeria. All right. Now, what are your recommendations to the government and to the people that they are bringing on board to make this necessary change?
Okay. First, we're advocating that a tourism master plan should be put in place so that we have a guidance, we have a direction of where we are heading to. With a master plan, the various components of tourism will be adequately addressed, and we'll have a pathway, a roadmap to prosperity in tourism space. Secondly, we're also trying to advocate with government and other stakeholders, private sector, for example, to incentivize their reward system in such a way that you promote tourist attractions in Nigeria. For example, many organizations, both public and private, do have what we call best staff of the month or best staff of the year, some type of reward system for productivity. We're saying that if you are going to promote, give a best staff of the month, an all-paid holiday, for example, don't promote it to Dubai, promote it to an Obudu, promote to a Yankari, promote to a local destination where you offer those local destinations as all expenses paid trip to those destinations. That way, you are helping to promote domestic tourism. You are also helping to create awareness in terms of tourism development, and it will assist those tourism assets like the hospitality outfits, hotels, restaurants, and those places to earn income and develop their products as well. So yeah, that's what we are trying to push. Those are the little ways we are trying to see how we can promote, create awareness and promote tourism development
All right.
in
All
Nigeria.
right. That is a good initiative, obviously. Now, promoting tourism within the sector, within the country in Nigeria. But how about networking or interrelationship with other African countries or even the diaspora countries? All right. You just say that it can be encouraged that anybody going on holiday should be sent within the country. But do you really see that as having any positive impact? How about you make connections with your organizations in bringing those outside the country back to the country, and then why did those in Nigeria that they are having to go for something like that are sent outside the country? What would be your organization's input in this regards?
In terms of promoting inbound
Yeah,
tourism,
exactly.
okay, now, like I told you earlier, I'm an inbound tourist. What I currently do, my tourist tour operator, what I currently do is to promote inbound tourism. Currently, I do a lot of inbound tours. I promote mostly Nigerian culture and attractions, heritage and history outside Nigeria, trying to bring in tourists. And recently, we had a meeting with NIDO, the Nigerian Diaspora Organization, to see how we can also engage Nigerians in diaspora to find a way of coming home for holiday, especially those that are born out there that have never stepped their foot on the soil of Nigeria.
Exactly.
Uh, that we are working together with NIDO and some organizations like yourself out there that will be able to help assist us promote this our product so that we boost inbound tourism into Nigeria. We're doing that. We're also trying to promote intra-African travel between countries within Africa. We don't have to wait for Europeans or Americans to be able to promote tourism. A Ghanaian can visit here just the way we go to Ghana. A South African can come here for holiday, just the way we go to South Africa. Likewise, every other country on the African continent. We recently attended a lot of what we call We Are Africa, a platform, a tourism show, travel show platform in South Africa. We also have the WTM Africa, where we also go to promote Nigerian products and in those travel trade shows. So those are some of the efforts we are putting in place to try to see how we boost inbound tourism into Nigeria and add to the economic development.
Another country. All right. Now, do you see, for example, the movie directors or the movie producers, or those that produces movies, those that the hoteliers you've already mentioned, the airlines, and some of all these stakeholders in the industry, do you see them positively contributing to building of the tourism sector in Africa? Do they really have a role to play in the building of tourism in Nigeria?
Huge role. I was recently in a program that we discussed one of the roles of the movie producers, and I specifically raised the point that we have a huge advantage having Nollywood as a country who export our cultures and traditions in a very positive way. And we need to also work with the script writers within the Nollywood enclave to be able to project more of our cultures in a positive way. Recently, you saw what happened with the gangs of Lagos, where there was so much cry over the way they portrayed the Eyo festival. So,
Yes.
if we don't um, talk with the script writers, such events will be happening. Such type of scenarios, you'll be seeing them the more. So we need to work with the script writers to write the real story, the exact story of our cultures and the traditions and our various cities. So they have a very major role to play. We work with them regularly. In fact, they are also a major marketing tool for tourism, because when people watch those movies outside, they yearn to come and see those things they are seeing real life in Africa, in Nigeria. So yes, they are a very major partner for tourism development. As you know, tourism has about 5 to 6 components. Creative art is one of them. Transportation, hospitality, tourism services, um, um, food and beverages. So those are so creative arts, which Nollywood falls under. The movie producer falls under is a very critical part of tourism. Yes.
And so, are you having any positive impact as it stands now in your relationship with them?
Yeah. Sure. Most of them are even members of our associations. We're also members of some of the associations. In fact, I hold also a position in one of the um, one of the Nollywood association. We are in terms of collaboration. They are holding a vice presidential position on our association, and I'm holding the same on the association, just to see how we can work together to promote the country and promote
It's all
tourism.
right. So now, it's all right. So now let's talk about the West African Tourism Organization, of which you are the director. What are the aims, all right, the objectives, the focus, the primary focus of the organization?
Okay, great. On the African continent, West Africa is the most unknown, the most, if I don't like to use the word backward, but it's the most unknown in terms of tourism. And West Africa also is the cynosure of culture in Africa. But unfortunately, it is the most unknown um, and least developed in terms of tourism. If you look at Southern Africa, they are well positioned in terms of tourism. Eastern Africa, Northern Africa. So West Africa, West and Central actually, is what we call it, West and Central Africa, is the least developed in terms of tourism. So one of the major objective of what.
All right, you're welcome back to the program. All right, we were discussing about the WATO, which is the organization on which you direct presently, the West Africa Tourism Organization. Now, what is the aims, the objectives, and the main focus of that organization as it regards to tourism?
Okay, if you look at the African continent, Southern Africa is fully developed in terms of tourism. Eastern Africa, the same thing, a lot of safari. Northern Africa, it's well positioned in terms of tourism. So, in the whole of the African continent, you will see that it is West Africa, West and Central Africa that are less developed, and the ones that are somehow behind in terms of tourism development. So one of the major objectives of WATO is tourism, and try to drive development and investment in tourism products, tourism assets into the region. Uh, so yeah, WATO is just that, trying to promote West African tourism products to the rest of the world via various medium, travel shows. They hold ARIA event every November in London, side by side with the WTM, trying to achieve that objective. Um, we also work with government across the region and ECOWAS in promoting ecotourism, which is also the new wave in tourism after COVID. So those are the things that we're trying to do to promote, basically to promote West Africa and make it catch up with the rest of Africa in terms of tourism development. Yes.
Yeah. So can you share with us any of WATO's success stories so far?
We have recently launched what we call West African Ecotourism Network in Ghana, where we had the World Bank participate. We are trying to promote the ecotourism brand in Africa. That's one. We also have what we call the West Africa Integrated Travel, trying to promote uh, free movement of persons and goods, easy travel within West African countries used via ECOWAS. We have been able to gather heads of ECOWAS ministers of transport and tourism in the 16 West African countries, trying to see how we can promote that the WAIT project, West African travel. Those are the things that we have put in the forefront. And we have also been able to push countries like Sierra Leone, the Gambia, Senegal, and Ghana, and Nigeria to the world stage at the World Travel Market in London and ITB in Berlin, Germany. Those are some of the few achievements that we've been able to do. It's work in progress.
So, so far, so good. Do you have any limitations to the work you've been doing?
Yeah. It's difficult getting cooperation of 16 West African countries to buy into the idea of some of the projects that we have at hand. So far, Ghana has been the most friendly, even with hiccups, but they have been the most friendly. And then Nigeria, and then the Gambia. That is a major limitation that we're facing at the moment. Government bureaucracies, trying to penetrate them to see the vision of what we're trying to do. It's been a major setback. So yeah, that's it.
All right. Before a government will buy the idea, he or she has to know or has to believe that whatever wisdom or vision you are bringing is instrumental to the growth of his economy. All right. Now, do you see investment in tourism as a solution to Africa's problem of economic development?
Economic-wise or security-wise or
Economic can be economic-wise, can be security-wise, in fact, the problems of Africa, poverty-wise and all that.
yes, tourism is actually the low-hanging fruit to fight poverty in any society. So tourism can be a major solution if properly harnessed and promoted. And that's why we are pushing that on the West African coast. The level of poverty in Africa is more pronounced on the western coast of Africa. So if you take a look at countries like South Africa, for example, because of the development of tourism, because of the influx of tourists, you find out that the most vulnerable in the community are able to produce simple souvenirs and sell and earn a living. So in terms of eradicating poverty, tourism is the lowest hanging fruit and the best for the government to latch onto to be able to fight poverty on the immediate run. And in terms of security-wise, yes, tourism can aid in promoting security. First, because if tourism assists to put food on the table of anybody, that person will be less prone, the temptation to move to any criminal activity will be reduced. And so tourism can also assist in that regard in fighting insecurity. And with a lot of promotional activities by government, you see that there will be more attention in providing security because of the influx of tourists. And so, yes, tourism can also aid in fighting security. But most especially on the economic front, it is the lowest hanging fruit that any government can latch on to put food on the table of the most vulnerable in the society, especially people in the local communities, using community-based tourism.
So I think it's almost done. I'll bring it back to Nigeria again. We've just had a change in leadership and so many things in place. For the past 3-4 days, you've seen what is been happening in the nation. People are scared of what is going to happen next and all that. Now, let's talk about tourism. What plans and strategy do you think the present administration can put in place to develop this sector and at the same time provide the much needed help to the masses of this country?
Okay, very good question. For the past 3 days, there's been a lot of chaos in the country. One, for the incoming administration in Nigeria, there's a major problem of a legal lacuna hampering the development of tourism. Now I'll explain. In the Nigerian constitution, tourism is neither on the exclusive list or on the concurrent list, but it has, from the judgment of the Supreme Court, based on the judgment of the Supreme Court between the Lagos State government and the Attorney General of the Federation, tourism has been moved to residual, which means that it is the state government that are responsible for tourism legislation. But if you look at things like the security that tourism needs, things like immigration that tourism needs to thrive, they are under the exclusive list, under the federal government. Therefore, there is a legal lacuna. So the state government cannot legislate on immigration, security, and other aspects of tourism. And the federal government has been hampered from legislating on things like hospitality, and grading hotel and the rest, which has now reverted back to the state government. So what I think the new administration should do first is to unambiguously define where tourism belongs. Either they put it in the exclusive list for the federal government, or it will be on the concurrent list, where it will be a collaborative effort between the state government and the federal government. With that, we will set a tone for meaningful development of tourism. Having done that, we will now have to also promote domestic tourism by incentivizing, like I've said before, reward system in the country. And then thirdly, they need to now put together, there's a National Tourism Development Master Plan that has been done since 2005. It's gathering dust on the shelf. That master plan needs to be rejigged, bring it out, fine-tune it to current realities, and implement, having sorted the legal aspect. If you implement that plan, we are very sure of a meaningful tourism development in the country. That's one of the things that I think we should do. And then fourthly, we should also work, like we have said before, with Nollywood, who has been able to export our cultures and tradition via their films to the outside world. It's a very potent tool to sell Nigeria and develop tourism and drive tourist traffic into the country. Those are the immediate things that comes to mind as to what the government needs to do. In addition to creating a standalone tourism ministry for the industry. As it is now, there's no Ministry of Tourism in Nigeria, where tourism is a department under the Ministry of Information and Culture. which is an anomaly. So we need to have a standalone Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture. But that can only be done if the first step of the legal lacuna can be tackled. So with these 5 items, we are very sure that will tourism will develop in the country. So that's what I think the new administration should be able to work on to develop tourism.
Are there plans by WATO to make this negotiation with the current leadership? Because one thing is for us to talk here, and another is for us to implement the process of putting these things in place. Are there plans by your organization to make this relationship work?
Yes, WATO is working with other associations in the country to advocate. In Nigeria, we have EFTAN, the Federation of Tourism Association of Nigeria, which is the umbrella body for tourism associations. EFTAN is taking that up head on. Other associations under EFTAN are working together with WATO to push this agenda with the new government. A lot of memo has been raised and sent to the government. We are sure that they will be attended to in due course. The government is still just 3 days old, so we are hoping that we will put enough pressure when they are a bit settled to get some of these objectives achieved.
Welcome back to the program one more time. I'm still with Hassan Abdullahi ZAKARI, who is the country director, West African Tourism Organization, WATO. All right. We're rounding up, and I would like you to come in here, sir. And you've said one or two things about your relationship with the organization and what you've done so far to make the tourism sector work in Africa, especially in Nigeria, because of its importance in developing the economy. All right. Now, what are the functions? What should the stakeholders be doing in this regard? Because one, the government plays its own part, is playing its own role, and all that. The stakeholders needs to stand up or live up to their own responsibilities. So, in making things work, what do you think the stakeholders should be doing at this junction?
Okay, very good. The stakeholders also have a part to play in terms of collaboration with the government. First, the stakeholders, while we're trying to promote development of tourism, we must first of all have the requisite training, knowledge, and skills. So the stakeholders need to be well positioned in terms of product development, in terms of the knowledge, in terms of ethics, ethical behavior, and in terms of uh, also joining in the marketing of their various destinations. So those are the things that the stakeholders need to do. It's not enough for the government to put things in place, and then when the tourists come, things are not working properly.
Exactly.
So stakeholders need to be well positioned, retrain, acquire the necessary skills, and collaborate among themselves instead of fighting among themselves. Have a single voice and be able to promote ethical practices in the industry. Because if the tourists come and have a bad experience, the marketing Nigeria and throwing into the dustbin all the work put in place by government and other organizations to drive tourism.
So now let's talk about your own personal company with the Absolute African Tours.
Yeah.
I guess that is your company. What is it all about? What are your contributions to the sector?
Okay. We are, like I told you, we are inbound tour operators. We bring in tourists, and we are also helping to groom young ones. In my organization, I have about 10 young boys and girls working with me, which I am training for the future as well, because we need to also train the younger ones. As we age, as we leave this, we need to bring up the younger ones. So part of my contribution is training the younger ones on the best practices in the industry. And we are also marketing Nigeria in best possible light to the outside world. So, and that's why we're able to get tourists that patronize our products and services, which we take around the country, irrespective of the barrier status of the country outside there, outside in Europe and America. We try to promote Nigeria's image in a positive light by treating and curating immersive tour experiences that people go and have a lifetime memorable experience when they come.
So I thank you so much, Hassan Abdullahi Zakari. I know we've touched almost all that needs to be discussed, but you are an industry expert, and who else will know one or two things about the industry more than you? Now, give us a last word. Maybe something we've not mentioned so far. Just a last one before we round up.
Well, what will I say? We will want to crave the indulgence of organizations like yourself out there, since you are in the diaspora. So help us market the country in a positive light. And we are also open to collaborations with organizations like yourself to bring in tourists into the country, and also lend your voice to the advocacy towards government, both here and out there, to assist in facilitating tourism into the African continent and into Nigeria in particular. That's all I can say for now.
All right, thank you so much for being my guest.
Thank you very much for having me. I hope to see you.
All right. Hopefully. All right, we draw the curtain here for today, and we do hope with what we discuss so far the necessary organizations and authority begin to put one or two things in place to make sure that tourism in Nigeria is developed to the highest minimum in such a way that the economy itself begin to get developed. My name is Frank Kalibinda. Till next week, when I come your way with another guest on this program, do have a blessed day.
Thank you.